So let's start on all fours and just start moving through the spine with a bit of your cat stretch. In and out, waking up through those shoulders, waking up through the arms, pushing through the ground to arch up with an exhale. Inhaling down, moving in and out a few times. So waking up through the rib cage. Connecting into your breath. Noticing any spots that are offering up some resistance or restriction for you today. Maybe sending a little bit of extra breath into them as we warm up over a few moves here. Next time you come through center, stay there. Take your right arm out in front of you and your left foot out behind you, so extending the leg behind you. Make sure that your torso stays fairly straight, no collapsing in the lower spine. And just hold here for a breath or two. On an exhale, you're going to bring elbow towards knee. Kind of go through that cat motion again, bringing elbow, knee to the center. And then inhale to extend out again. Let's do 5 more of those on this side. Into out. And breathing. Once you finish 5 or 6, come down, go back to that cat stretch, up and down. Start a couple times. And then when you find center or neutral position again, we'll move through the opposite side. So left arm extends, right leg extends, core is active to keep the back from collapsing. And then exhaling to center, inhaling to extend. 6 or so on this side, moving at your own pace, making sure you don't wobble side to side. Stay as still as you can with the rest of the body as you move the arm and leg in and out. Pushing through that support arm, that support knee. After you finish 5 or 6, come back through all fours. Push the hips back through a child's pose. A couple breaths. Breathing deeply. Noting some of the heat. We've woken up into the core, shoulders. And then inhale, you can come back up through all fours. And we'll take your left foot forwards here in a kneeling lunge. It can be a little bit wider, so you have a bit of room to move on the inside. Opposite hand is going to be planted to the ground. And with your left hand from the ground, you're going to reach up through an exhale, through a rotation, and then inhale down. So continuous movement in and out here, pushing forwards into that back hip. It's a little bit of a hip flexor stretch alongside this rotation for the spine, for the torso. Follow your own breath, exhaling to reach, inhaling to come down. Pushing through that rooted arm so we're not collapsing into the shoulder, we're staying active as we reach up and open the chest. A few more times on this side. Next time you come down, you can take that leg back. We'll switch to the right side. So right foot comes forward, hands to the inside of the foot, rooting through that left arm. And when you're ready, exhaling to reach with the right arm towards the ceiling, inhaling to come down. We're just warming up through the hips, through the rib cage, through the shoulders, opening everything up. A few more times. Twice more on this side. And then next time you bring the hand down, you can take that leg back and we'll find your child's pose one more time. Sinking back through the hips, heels, pushing the hips to heels. Taking a few deep breaths. Come up through all fours as you're ready. And we'll get set up for a down dog. So hands about push-up distance apart. Screw those arms into the ground just like you were about to do a push-up or those slow-mo push-ups we did on Monday. Straighten the legs out and then lift the hips up towards the ceiling. So push through those hands. Allow the knees to bend a little bit so you can get the hips nice and high, and then begin working on straightening those legs. And you can kind of walk the heels up and down, working into a bit of a hamstring stretch. Stretch in the back of the legs. Keep pushing through the shoulders, through the hands on the ground. Use that to help support you in this lifted position. More times. Eventually find stillness in this tall, high position, hips nice and high. We're going to start walking the hands back towards the feet. This time you're going to let the knees bend so that as you walk back, you end up in a bit of a deeper squat. Spend a breath or so there. And then you're going to walk forwards out to a plank. So we're going to walk in and out here to your plank, and then walking back into a bent knee position. Heels can be lifted here just a little bit. Ideally, long term, you'll be able to get the heels towards the ground, but we can work into that. We're going to do 6 times walking out, walking back in. Be intentional with every hand placement. So you're pushing through the ground, spreading those fingers out nice and wide, using the whole hand. And then push through those toes as you walk forwards to push you into that plank. Once or twice more. Next time you get to your squat or bent knee position, you can stay there. Take a few breaths at whatever depth you're at. And then on an exhale, we're going to push through the feet and lift the hips up to a forward fold. Take a few breaths. Knees can be as bent as you need to support that torso. Letting that upper back relax, head and neck relax. So same type of move where you're bending the knees, lowering the hips, down towards that deeper squat, and then pushing back up through the fold. Go in and out here about 8 times. Move at your own pace. As you bend down towards that squat, lift the chest, look forward so we're not collapsing down. We're still maintaining fairly upright torso. Total of 8. Rooting down through both feet equally. And you might only get down to 90 degrees, that's okay. Work to whatever range you have. So if that's here, great, do that. A couple more times, and then you can stay in your fold for a couple breaths. And then slowly, on an inhale, pick yourself up standing. And find yourself so that feet are about hip distance apart, kind of your normal distance to start working into a regular squat type motion. We're going to work into tempo squats, so that means we're going to be going down through the squat for a count of 5, and up through the squat for another count of 5. So paced, controlled squat motion. As you're ready to, you're going to sit the hips down for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Small pause at the bottom, and then up for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're going to do 5 rounds of that. When you're ready, feet hip distance apart, root down through both feet for a count of 1, lowering down 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 more rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At the top, make sure you're squeezing those hips all the way forwards. Lowering down for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause at the bottom. Raising for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2 more rounds. Lowering for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And lifting for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Last one here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And up for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good. Shake those legs out, have a break. We're going to shift into lunges. So we're going to be standing. We're going to do reverse lunges. I like these a bit better for the knees. So standing at the top of your mat, root down through those feet. We'll start on the left foot, or I'm going to start on the left foot. So when you're ready, you're going to take a big step back, bend into both knees, stand up, step forwards. We're going to alternate sides. So I'm stepping back with the left foot, lowering down, and come forwards. If you're able to, try and tap that back knee on the ground. Just a tap, not a rest. If that depth isn't quite doable for you, that's okay. Work with what you have. Back and forth for 16, so 8 to each side. Hands can be at the hips or wherever is comfortable. Making sure that front knee does not collapse inwards as you bend it. It maintains a straight line from the hips. Foot is straight forwards. I'm not doing any funny rotations at the ankle. A few more. 2 more on each side. heel should be staying on the ground, no lifting that front heel. Last one here. Come up to standing, shake those legs out, have a break, grab some water. Let that breathing slow down. We're going to repeat those two movements once more. So tempo squats to our reverse lunge. I want you to really pay attention for what those feet are doing. In the squats and the lunges, make sure you're rooting through the whole foot so we're not falling out to the edges, we're not collapsing to the inside, we're not forwards or backwards. Weight's going through that midfoot, spreading out through a triangle on the foot at the bottom as you move the rest of the body around it. When you're ready, we'll move into tempo squats. Count to 5 down, pause at the bottom, count to 5 up. So starting now, lowering for 1, 2, 3, push those hips back, 4, 5, pause, up for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 4 more rounds, lowering for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pause, up for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 3 more rounds, lowering for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pause, up for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 2 more rounds, lowering for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Up for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Readjust, feel that whole foot. Lowering down for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Pausing. Up for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good job. Shake those legs out. We'll reset up for reverse lunges. Starting on the left foot, count of 16, 8 to each side. As you're ready, stepping back, tap that back knee. Imagine that back knee is going straight down towards the ground. And a nice straight line through the torso, just like those hovers we did on Monday, if you remember those. Nice and tall, stacking your weight over that pelvis, pushing through both feet at a pace you can manage. Four more. Last 2. When you're finished, 16, shake those legs out. Have a break. Grab some water again. We'll eventually make our way down to the ground and start seated. Just for a couple minutes. Let your breath slow down. Remember that you are in control of your breath. Start consciously taking deeper, slower breaths. Help that heart rate settle again. appropriate rest during a workout is just as important as the workout itself. We end up rushing through our exercises, rushing through workouts. We're often missing the point of the exercises. Certainly some exercises we do need to move quickly through if that's the goal, but the time in between helps us to reset and then focus on quality movement from a more relaxed, aware state versus rushing through movement simply to get something done. Not as valuable. As you're ready to, as your internal rhythm starts to slow down a little bit more, we're gonna get into this setup again. We did a stretch like this the other day. So set up like this, knees stacked one on top of the other, then with that 90-degree angle from the hip. We're gonna work into some deeper rotator muscles for the hip before moving on to some core and upper body stuff. We'll do one detailed exercise now that we've tired out the bigger muscles. So from here, you're gonna find your hands on either side of that front knee. Make sure you guys can see me. So either side of that front knee, we're gonna be focusing on this back hip through motion of that back ankle. So leaning a little bit forwards, you're gonna work towards rotating from this hip to lift that back foot off the ground. We're gonna go up and down. And everybody hates this exercise because it does pose a lot of difficulty the first time you do it, or the first few times you do it. If you're only getting a couple inches off the ground, that's okay. The range of motion that I'm showing you is after weeks, maybe months of working at this exercise, so don't worry about it if you're getting a small range of motion. What I want you to be thinking of is making sure you're feeling some deep muscles inside your hip here, turning on. They might be even throwing a little bit of a fit right now. If you're getting a butt cramp, you're probably doing it right. So work up and down for 10 movements. And then you can switch sides. One side is gonna probably feel miles different from the other. When you get to about 10, you can switch the knees around and then do that other back leg. So from here, this is my tighter side, working to rotate up. Watch that your whole body isn't flailing to get it done. This is purely a hip movement, hip rotation. Butt cramps are totally normal. Just make sure you're not holding your breath. You might even be feeling this all the way down into that calf, outer ankle. Same group of muscle chain that moves up the leg into these deeper rotators for the hip. It's all connected. About 10 on this side, and then we're gonna go back to that first side. When you finish 10, flip those feet over. And we'll go back to that first side, rotating from the hip exclusively. The knee becomes your pivot point, but the hip is doing the work. Or so on this side, and then the opposite side one more time. Flipping those knees around when you get there, and then rotating that back leg up. Embracing the butt cramps. Bet you never heard that before. Embrace your butt cramps. Feel free to quote me. Once you finish 10 or so, let those legs straighten out for a sec. Give them a shake. Let them relax. We're gonna move on to some short duration, higher intensity core work. So we're gonna be taking breaks in between each series of movement, but we're gonna have about 30 seconds of work with each move. So I'm gonna show you the first one just so you know what to do before we dive into it. We're gonna be working from a forearm plank. So legs straight out behind you. First thing you're gonna do is walk those toes up as high as you can to get the hips as high as you can, and then walk them back out. You're gonna do that 4 times, up and down. After 4 of that, making sure the hips are low, you're gonna jump the feet in and out for 10. Once you finish 10, knee to elbow for 6. And then once you finish 6, back to those jumps, plank jacks for 10. And then you rest. Okay, so feet up and down for 4, jumping out to the side, plank jacks for 10, knees to elbows, spider plank if you will, for 6, jumping in and out for 10. If at any point during that series you need to reset your plank, please do so. If you need to take a break, please do so. What I'm showing you is your guideline, not a hard rule. So work to the level that you're at. If you want to cut all those numbers in half, please do so. Work to your own level. We're gonna do 5 rounds total of that series, of that plank series. So, as you feel ready to, let's find your way, if you haven't already, into that first round. So from your forearm plank, walking those feet up, high as they'll go, and then all the way back, 4 rounds of that. Pushing through those elbows, so the shoulders are supported. Once you've finished 4 walk-ups, 10 jumps in and out. Hips stay fairly low. And then knee raises, 6 to each side, so that means 12 in total. Then your jumps again. When you're finished that, take a break. Catch your breath before beginning round 2. And I want, during that break, you take at least 30 seconds off and take those bigger, deeper breaths, letting that heart rate come down a little bit. Our goal here is working into a specific anaerobic or cardiovascular system, so we want to make sure we're exiting that state in our rest before entering and training it again in the movements. So give yourself that time until you feel like things shift out of one state into another in between repetitions, so we can truly work in and out of that. And some of your recoveries might be faster, some of them might be slower. Work to where you're at. But I would say a minimum of a 30-second rest is appropriate. As you start to feel your breath slow down a bit more naturally and that heart rate come down, we're going to get ready to move into round 2. Round 2 of 5. So, setting up for that forearm plank as you get there, and beginning first with those walk-ups. 4 rounds here. Legs stay fairly straight as you walk them up. Start pushing those hips high, ideally so they stack over top of those shoulders. Get a little bit of an arm workout here too. 4 rounds. And then plank jacks for 10. then plank jacks. And then resting. Two more rounds here. Deep breaths. Grab water if you need. Try not to take big gulps though. Won't feel good when you're jumping around. As things start to slow down, you can begin resetting for round 3. If you need to keep quality in your movements, think about doing 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 less of each movement, or cutting each movement in half for repetitions. Do what you need to continue challenging yourself without sacrificing the quality of each movement. Quality is still important. You're still going to get appropriate intensity as long as we keep quality. Don't sacrifice the movement just in the name of numbers. As you're ready to, we're going to find that forearm plank again. As you're in this forearm plank, make sure you're not collapsing through the shoulders. Push up through those shoulders the whole time so you're pushing away from the ground with the upper body. Starting with your walk-ups. Four here. And then plank jacks. Knee raises. Plank jacks. And then resting. We have one more round. Take a break. Find that breath again. At least 30 seconds of rest, if not a touch more. I can promise you, over the next couple days, you'll feel your core, you'll feel your shoulders, you might even feel those legs, but you will also feel good and accomplished. Letting that heart rate slow. As you feel ready to, we'll move into our last and final round of this plank series, this intensity series. As you're ready to, find that forearm plank. Begin with your walk-ups. from 2 to 4 is appropriate here before moving into your plank jacks. Shoulders towards the hips, pulling them back. Knee raises. Plank jacks. And then resting. Done there. Take a good break. Grab some water. Have a seat or a walk around. Whatever feels good. We have one more strength-based exercise to go for the shoulders. And then we'll begin moving into some mobility, stretching to finish things off. Just keep resting. Another moment. Noticed a pattern over the last week or so. I've been building slowly up to a bit more intensity. One of the biggest issues I see a lot of riders run into, or just humans in general run into, is that we tend to dive right into intensity, weighted, challenging work, even things like boot camps, fitness programs, that kind of thing, without covering some foundational aspects to our movement. When we don't cover those foundations, when we don't have at least a general awareness of our body, diving into those intensity things, we're only getting partial benefit, and that's assuming we don't run into injury or dysfunction while diving in. So my strategy has and always will be to build a foundation first where we know how to control our posture to at least some extent before we dive into things like this that are much more challenging for our brains and bodies to coordinate, because then at least we have a baseline. We know what we can come back to, we know what we need to control, we know how to access those shoulders, we know how to access those glute muscles, and then we actually get full benefit of every movement we're doing and the fitness benefit as well. So, rant over. Last true exercise, we're gonna do our favorite push-ups. So core and shoulders once again, but a bit slower than what we just did. Half push-ups are fine as always. Screw those arms into the ground. And we aren't gonna do slow motion like we did last time. We'll do true push-ups here, up and down. And as you come down, I want you to think of it as if you're pulling yourself towards the ground. So there's an activity to pull you downwards and then press you away. So you're working both directions, feeling those shoulder blades sliding along that rib cage as you go up and down. Keeping them away from your ears. We'll go for anywhere from 8 to 10 push-ups. Work to what you can control. Squeeze those butt muscles so the hips stay even and forwards. To whatever depth you can control to. Challenge it, but don't fall on your face. When you finish 8 to 10, find yourself in a child's pose. And breathe. We do 2 more rounds of push-ups. About 5 to 10 big deep breaths. And then you can move into round 2. Make sure those hands and those fingers are fully spread out so you're working into the hand. Screw those arms in and then pushing and pulling and pressing. Think of your elbows, see them move in a 45-degree angle, not straight out to the sides. They should be going 45 degrees back and down. That's where we're gonna get some true shoulder and chest work into this push-up. Inhale down, exhale up. Pull down, press up. Once you finish 8 to 10 again, child's pose. Feel that heat we've created in the body. Five to 10 big deep breaths. And then you can come up and forwards for our last round here. Screwing those hands in, full palms on the mat. 45 degrees at the elbows. Engage those butt muscles. Up and down. Make sure that the back isn't collapsing as you come down. Core is still working. Torso stays in a straight line. Eight to 10. And then find that child's pose one more time. Hips to heels. Engage through the hands a little bit to push the hips back. Forehead to ground, chest to ground, and then relax. Few breaths here. Filling up as much of the body as you can with that inhale. All the way down to the hips, the low back. Feeling the belly expand against the thighs. As you feel ready to, you can come forwards and then find your way onto one side. Arms can be extended, stacked on top of each other. Knees are going to be drawn up towards your chest. So you're at a 90-degree angle at the hips. On an exhale, rotate open to the opposite side. And we'll move in and out here, following your own breath. Inhale to close, exhale to open. Spend time in that open position. If you feel like extending it for a couple breaths, do that. You're in charge. Before inhaling back to closed. 8 to 10 of this movement on one side before switching. Following your own breath, letting the body settle. Noticing all of the good work we've done throughout our bodies, where there's heat, where there's a bit of muscle fatigue. All good things. As you finish, 8 to 10 on one side, you can let yourself roll over to the opposite side. Knees drawn up towards the chest, arms stacked, and then rotating open. This is a great move for just general all-over well-being. It's a good mobilization for the rib cage, for the lower spine. Also stretches into the chest, opens the chest. This is a really good one if you're dealing with any sort of low back stiffness, shoulder pain, or even just general feelings of stress, anxiety, kind of upset. This one can really help to settle the nervous system. It's also nice for digestion. Eight to 10 here. Staying as long as you'd like in that open position in between each closing, if it feels good. Our goal right now is to simply let that body settle and integrate all of the good work that we've done. As I've said before, rest, recovery periods, appropriate mobility, integration time are all just as important to a workout as the workout itself. We can't have a good workout without all those other things being in play. As you finish 8 to 10 of that movement, you can roll onto your backs. And we will cross the right heel over the left thigh. Just a quick hip stretch. Pulling that left thigh up. Figure 4 stretch here. And breathe into this. About 10 big deep breaths. Hugging that thigh in as close as you need for your hip stretch on the right. And then when you're ready to, you can switch sides. Lower that leg down, cross the other over, hug it in. Deep breaths. After 8 to 10 breaths on this side, you can lower both legs down, bring the feet in close together. Let those knees fall open to the sides. Hands can stay at the belly or they can come up overhead. Once you find either position, let your eyes close. And take some deep, full breaths. Letting gravity take over the knees, the thighs, the hips. Every exhale, allowing gravity to pull those legs down towards the ground a little bit more. And allowing the rest of the body to become heavy with that exhale, meeting the ground underneath you. And if you'd like, you can begin a little bit of square breathing here. So we'll inhale for a count of 4. Hold for a count of 4 at the top. Exhale for a count of 4 and hold for a count of 4. So as you breathe, imagine your breath tracing the shape of a square. Equal parts in, holding, out, holding. Complete a few rounds of that. And after your next round or two, let your breath just fall back into its normal rhythm. After a couple breaths, let the knees come back towards each other. Let the knees fall then side to side, both to the same side. Back and forth a few times. Just kind of move and stretch through that pelvis in a different way. If you have the arms up overhead, you'll probably notice a different stretch, a new stretch, maybe into the sides of the hips, traveling up through the side of the body into the rib cage. That will probably feel good after today's work. Spin as long each side as you'd like. And then as you feel ready to, you're spending a few breaths on each side through that side body twist. We will end today's class there, so spend as long as you want in that twist or in any other stretch you'd like to. And good work to all of you today. I will see you on Friday, if I don't see you tomorrow, and have a lovely rest of your days.
You too.